Today we're going to be talking about Globus command line tools for file transfer. So back in April, we hosted a webinar, Introduction to Globus, and it's available from the lecture notes. So if I click on this, it will take you to the April webinar, Introduction to Globus, and as you can see, there are PDF slides, there is a video. So that webinar was given by our colleagues from UBC. And today I decided that I will continue, but we'll talk about command line interface, which is actually great, as you will see today. So why would you want to use Globus in the first place? Well, Globus is a file transfer tool that lets you do very fast transfers of large files, both between remote machines, for example, from one Alliance cluster to another Alliance clusters, maybe from an Alliance cluster to your departmental server, and you can also run Globus on your own computer, so you can transfer files to and from your own computer. So the nice thing about Globus is that it uses a grid FTP protocol to enable multiple TCP streams, and essentially what it does, it will try to maximize bandwidth between any two endpoints. So there's a downside to that. So a few times, I would say a few times for the past 10 years, I've run into situations when I had throttling issues with my internet service provider and with Edirome. So they didn't like Globus traffic, but it looks like these days this is mostly in the past, and you can actually use Globus pretty much everywhere. So also Globus will automatically resume transfer if it was interrupted for any reason. So for example, if there is a network problem, machine was rebooted, etc. Globus will actually is smart enough to understand that it needs to resume transfer where it was interrupted, and it will just do it automatically in the background. Also, it does automatic checksum verification. So after the transfer is finished, it runs checksums, compares checksums on the source and the origin endpoints. And if they're not the same, then it will either raise an issue or will retry transfer. So transfer within Globus usually happens entirely in the background. So if you've used Globus via the web interface before, you know that all you need to do is log into the Globus website, to the Globus interface, and then you start transfer, and then you can log out, you can close your laptop, and it will happen entirely in the background. So once transfer is successful, is complete, you will typically get an email notification to the address that is registered in your Globus profile. And you can also check status, as we'll do many times today, via interactive commands. And also, it provides logs, progress tracking, notification, all the nice things that a lot of people appreciate. So many research institutions in Canada use Globus for auditable data transfer movement, right? So there's a log of what was copied where. And finally, you can also share data within Globus with researchers who don't have even accounts on the system on which you're hosting the files shared through Globus. So there are three main ways to use Globus. By default, most people use Globus through a web-based interface, which is great. The downside of it is that there's a lot of clicking and navigating directories, especially if you go to a large cluster directory, for example, to project to scratch, and you have to sort through all those usernames, and it can be, sometimes quite slow. There's also a REST-style API programming interface that you can use from some languages like Python and Ruby. I have not tried it myself. I quickly look at the documentation, but I have not tried it. And it's something you can use to automate your workflows as well. But in this webinar, we're going to be sharing files. We're going to be working with Globus exclusively from the command line. There's a question, can I share transfer files from my account to another account, which is not mine, through Globus? Yes. So for example, you can share your files, and that way through a shared endpoint, and that way either you or your collaborator, the person who owns the other account, can transfer files. So we're going to be talking about Globus sharing towards the end of this webinar. So one word of caution is that files are not stored on Globus. So whenever you do any transfer of files, the files really are sitting on the underlying file system. So don't delete files if you want to keep them, because otherwise they will be deleted from the underlying file system. So since today we're focusing on command line tools, you want to install your Globus interface, command line interface, and fortunately this is very easy to do. So typically you would do this through a Python package manager. This is what I did on my own computer. So here essentially I used pip, or in this case UV pip, to install Globus as a Python package for Python 3.12, and this gave me the most up-to-date version of Python. So whether using pip, conda, etc., you can just use your usual Python package manager, and that way you can install Globus CLI tools. So search for Globus CLI. So in my case, I installed it on my own computer, and I'm just going to activate the environment. So it's env Globus that I created in my home directory, been activated. And now, as you can see, there's a Globus command. So after I activated the environment, there is a Globus command that I can use. So on a cluster, you can, let me make it a little bit bigger. So on a cluster, you can install it using pip into a virtual environment as well. So if you go to our documentation for using Python on the clusters, on the Linux clusters, we strongly recommend you to use Python virtual environments. And this is what I do here. So I load the Python 3.12 module, and then I also create a similar name env-globus, into which I install Globus CLI and set up tools. So these, in the case of the cluster, this package was needed as well. And then everything works really great, except that if you install the default version that installs into Python 3.12, the default version of Globus is slightly out of date. So some of the commands that I'm going to show you today, they will not work with this version of Globus CLI. So it's it's few months out of date, but there are a couple of commands that will not work. But fortunately, it's actually really easy to upgrade Globus in place. You don't actually have to download anything. It's essentially you run a single Globus update command. So here, for example, if I say here I'm running on my own computer, I say Globus version. As you can see, it shows me the install version and the latest version, and they are exactly the same. But on the cluster, if you install Globus following these instructions, you will see that the installed version is going to be 3.2. It's not the latest one, so if all you need to do is just run Globus update, takes a few seconds, and then it will simply replace Globus in your virtual environment with the updated one. I'm going to paste the lecture notes into the chat. Okay, so once you install Globus, you can get help online very easily. So first of all, there is a website right here, link from the notes, CLI reference. So this website gives you a list of all Globus commands, and if you click on a specific command, for example, Globus version, and the only command we ran so far, it tells you exactly which flags you can use with this command. Also, you can run, one thing that I probably want to do now is I will enable the Globus auto completion. And so that way, what will happen is that now if I type any command, let's say Globus transfer, I type tr, then I hit tab, and then let's say --h, hit tab again, and then it will simply auto complete my commands and flags, which is very handy. So if you want to get information about Globus commands, you can simply type Globus --help or Globus-h, and it will give you all commands with a little bit of explanation. If you want to get help on a specific command, so for example, let's say I'm interested in how to use Globus ls. All you need to do is just type Globus ls --help or Globus ls -h, and then it will give you a detailed manual page. So I formatted things a little bit in such a way on my screen that I can actually see my notes at the same time. So of course, normally you will have a slightly wider terminal, so that you will see a nicely formatted page. And also there is a commands Globus list commands, Globus list command, which lists all existing commands with a little bit of explanation, but not detailed manual pages. So we should probably talk a little bit about Globus terminology, because this is something that throws people who are not familiar with Globus a little bit off at the beginning. So there are a couple of important terms here, endpoint and collection, which are not exactly the same. There is some overlap between these, but these are somewhat different. So a Globus endpoint is essentially a server a machine where data can be where data can be transferred to and from, right? So essentially, it's, for example, an HPC cluster or a departmental server or your own computer, right? And on this endpoint, you're running Globus software. Either you're running a Globus server connect or you're running Globus personal connect package. And so endpoint is a machine, and then a collection is essentially an alias to a specific directory or data set, right? So on a single endpoint, you can have many collections. So this is the case, for example, on our HPC clusters, where every user has a mapped well, actually has several mapped collections. So, for example, your home directory is a mapped collection in Globus, and mapped means that you and only you can access it. So when you authenticate yourself into Globus, and then you add consent, you give consent to use this map collection in Globus. So I'll see you demo in a couple of minutes. Then this collection is now mapped to your your home directory on the cluster is mapped to your Globus account, to your Globus ID. And then there are also guest collections that you can create yourself. So a guest collection is basically a shared directory or a subset of files, etc. So you can create as many guest collection as you want yourself or inside a single mapped collection. So let's talk about authentication. In Globus, there are two levels of authentication. So first of all, you need to log into Globus yourself, and I'm going to be using command line for all demos. So hopefully demos work today. So Globus, I'm going to run Globus logout just to terminate all previous sessions. And then I will type now Globus login. So what will happen in this case, because I'm running Globus login on my computer, it will actually open a web browser and it will invite me to authenticate myself. So in this case, I'm going to log in through the same page you usually see when you use Globus through the web interface, right? So I'm going to authenticate myself using an Alliance account. So Digital Research Alliance of Canada, I'm going to say continue, and then perhaps it will ask for MFA. Let's see if it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because I used MFA recently this morning, so it actually says, yeah, login successful. Great. So now I authenticated myself, and then I can type login, who am I? And it tells me, oops, sorry, not login, Globus, who am I? I'm doing. I can type Globus, who am I? And then it should tell me that I am logged in with this ID. So this ID, it looks like an email, but it's actually not an email. It's my Globus account. And then if I want to see details for this account, I can say Globus, who am I, and then dash verbose. And that will give me a few more details, numerical ID, my name, as well as the email address that is associated with this account, right? So you can also type command Globus session show, and that will show all active Globus sessions. Currently, I'm just logged in into one account. So this is the session that I'm currently logging out. So at any point, if you want to terminate your session, if you want to delete temporary tokens stored somewhere, I actually don't know the details of where they're stored. So for these, you can go to the Globus documentation, or you can send them an email if you're curious. But essentially, if I want to log out, if I want to delete all tokens, then I will type Globus logout. So this way, with Globus login, I authenticate myself to Globus, right? I log into the Globus account. Second, you need to give Globus permission to access the endpoints to which you're going to be, to which you're going to be transferring files, or from which you're going to be transferring files. So before you can run commands Globus ls or Globus transfer, you need to authenticate yourself. And usually the way it's done, Globus will automatically prompt you to enter, give this authentication when you start accessing file systems. So let's start with a guest collection on the Globus, in Globus tutorial. So there's a Globus tutorial collections. I have a couple of them bookmarked here, so as bash environment variables. So I'm just going to set this variable. I'm just going to be using T1. T2 is just in case if T1 doesn't work. And so now T1 is just an environment variable, and then I can run the command Globus ls T1. So I'm not 100% sure if Globus will actually ask me to authenticate to this tutorial collection. Let's see what happens. So essentially what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to list files now on this collection. And actually in this case, because I've accessed it before, and I guess, I don't know, I'm not sure how strict access to this tutorial collection is, but in this case, it didn't ask me to authenticate myself. So as you can see, there are no files on these guest collection. Let's try to list files in one of the subdirectories. So I'm going to go to home on this guest collection, on this map collection, and then go data. And let's see if there are any files there. All right, so there are 3 files, file 1, file 2, file 3.txt inside this guest tutorial collection. So here is an excerpt from the Globus manual. So essentially, when in real life, when you work with Globus, once in a while, it will prompt you for authentication. And so, I mean, how often that happens really depends on the level of access that is enabled for a particular collection. So for more strict collection, you will get, a prompt to enter your credentials more often. So sometimes you can get in an infinite authentication loop. So preparing for this webinar, it happened to me just once a couple of weeks ago. And so in this case, it asks me, so when I try to access a collection, it asks me to run this command, which I did. I authenticated myself to the collection. And then I still couldn't access it. It says that I had to update the session. When I updated the session, it asked me again to run this global consent. So I got stuck in an infinite loop. And so in these cases, what you can do is just send us an email. So we have some Globus, well, we'll have sysadmins who know Globus pretty well, and they will be able to help you. Or maybe, in my case, what I did, I just waited a day or so. So something was not properly updated on the, I guess, on the Globus service, and then just waiting a little bit actually automatically resolve this problem. So as you can see, we can type Globus ls followed by the name of a collection. And then optionally, I can give a directory name on this collection. So this is actually kind of similar to CQ copy command syntax, right? So you have on the left, right here in this argument, you have the collection, then a column, and then the directory that you're trying to access. These collection T1, so it's part of the Globus tutorial. It's actually a playground for anybody to transfer files, and you can use it yourself. So one thing I can do is I can try to create a directory. So I'm going to say Globus, make directory, and then on these T1 collection, I'm going to create a directory test. And now it was created successfully. So now if I do ls on T1, it should tell me that there is a directory test there. So both ls and make directory commands are so-called synchronous commands. So what it means is that they will block until the command is successful, right? So when I type globus make directory and then where I create the directory, you see that the command blocked until the directory was created successfully, and then it exited. So the same for ls command. Ls is a blocking command. So you ask to list files or directories, and then it will not give you the prompt until, before it gives you the answer. Some other examples of blocking commands are rename, remove. So let me actually create another subdirectory inside test. So in this case, I created a directory test, and then I'm creating a directory today inside of test. And then let's say I want to rename it. So I want to rename today to tomorrow. So I'm going to say Globus rename on the collection T1. I'm going to rename test today, right? So the directory today, I'm going to rename it into test tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to reside in the same location, same test directory as today. So basically, I'm renaming today. So as you can see, there's a separate rename command, which is different from standard Unix philosophy, right? So in Unix, when you want to rename a file, you just use the move command. So here is different because a move command, well, an analog of move command will transfer files between two endpoints. Whereas here with rename, what you want to do is you just want to change the name of a file, just want to rename it in a single endpoint. So that's why there is no equivalent of move. There is rename, and then there is a transfer command in Globus to actually move files. And you can also rename things, move them across directories. So let's say I'm going to say Globus rename on the same T1 collection. I'm going to move, let's say here, I'm going to move tomorrow in the from the test subdirectory in the high level, into the parent directory, right? So now if I do Globus ls and then T1, you see that now there should be two subdirectories, test and tomorrow. So another example of a blocking command is the remove command. So in this case, I'm going to run it on both directories. Actually, in this case, I don't have to run recursive because the directories test and tomorrow are currently empty, but it doesn't hurt to run recursive or -R if you want to have a short flag. And so in this case, we delete the directories, and then as you can see, there should be nothing left. So let's actually, oh, there's a question. Sorry, I missed the part where the CLI interface you are typing. Well, you have to go to the beginning of the nodes. So here, what I'm doing is I'm running these on my own computer, right? So the idea is that you can install this Globus CLI interface on any machine that has internet access. So you can run this on your own computer. You can run this on a cluster. So for most part, I'll actually be running things on my own computer because that's just easy, very convenient. You install Globus locally on your own machine, and then you run it on your own machine, right? So you can, with the Globus command on your own machine, you can transfer file anywhere. You can transfer it between your computer and remote cluster. You can transfer files between two remote clusters, et cetera, right? So it doesn't really matter where you run it. So the important thing is that once you install Globus, the next step is going to be Globus login to authenticate yourself to log in into the Globus account. And then towards the end of the webinar, I'm going to show you some examples of running Globus commands on a cluster. But right now, I'm just running everything on my own machine. So there is another version of Globus remove command, which is called Globus delete. The difference is that it's non-blocking. So whereas Globus remove will not give you a prompt until it's successful, Globus delete will give you a prompt, so it's non-blocking, right? So essentially, it will schedule a task for deletion of files, and then at some point in the future, hopefully, within the next few seconds, is going to return. Is going to run successfully. So let's start transferring files. So first, we're going to start with a test entirely within the tutorial endpoint. So I'm going to again create a directory test in my own playground inside the Globus tutorial, right? So now, if I do Globus Globus lst1, it should show me that there's a test directory there that I just created, and then I'm going to transfer one of these files from the tutorial collection. So let's say file 1 into my new test directory. So all I need to do is type Globus transfer, Globus transfer, and then I need to supply the source and then a destination. So the source in this case is going to be a very specific file, right? So here file 1 is the source, and I'm saying that it's sitting on collection T1 in this directory. And then I need to supply the destination as well. So in Globus, it's very important that when you do a single file transfer, you always have to specify the file name both on the source and the destination part. So this is very important. And this is actually the most common error within within Globus when you run it from the command line, is that you forget to specify the file name on the destination. So once again, when you do a single file transfer, it's very, very important to specify the file name in the destination as well. So now I ran the Globus transfer command, right? So it says that transfer has been scheduled, it's been accepted, and a task ID has been created. So in order to check, let's say, one way to check whether the command finished, I can actually run the Globus task wait command, and then I can paste the task ID here. So what it will do is it will essentially block, and it will not return until my transfer has been completed. So in this case, the transfer was completed. It's just a single tiny file, and it returns. So the file should now be on the destination, right? Which you can easily check with Globus-ls. So let me do this guy. Let's just see what's inside the test directory. And now, as you can see inside my new test directory, there is file 1 that I just copied there a minute ago. So note that Globus ls command doesn't work on files. So if I try to do something like this, and then I'm going to say file 1.txt, which exists there, right? So it's this guy. If I try to do ls on the file itself, it will actually give me an error message. So that's one limitation of the Globus ls command. It doesn't work on individual files. You have to supply a directory name or maybe just a collection name to it. So in this case, if I want to list, let's say if I had 1,000 files in there and just wanted to list a single file, what I would do is I would probably do ls on the entire directory. Maybe I want to do ls -l, right? If I want to see the file sizes, and then I'm going to pipe it into, let's say, grep and then the file name command, right? So in this case, it will just show you a single line of output. Let's now transfer a file from the tutorial collection to the Fur cluster. So Fur is a map. So my own home directory on Fur is a mapped collection. But before I can actually access it, I need to know where to find Fur in this Globus command line interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the command globus endpoint search alliance. And these basically will list everything in the Globus universe with the name Alliance, and that will actually return a lot of things because not only, well, this will return not only just the Alliance clusters, but also, all systems associated with the Digital Research Alliance of Canada, and perhaps anybody else, anywhere outside of Canada who uses Alliance keyword in the name or description of their system. So probably what I want to do is I want to search for, I want to search grab for Fur. So here's my command. So I search for Alliance and then grab for Fur. And this will return a single entity. So here is the endpoint that points to the Fur cluster, right? So here's the endpoint name, and I want to use this name. So not the second. So the second guy is the I don't know whether it's an email address or the user ID a sysadmin ID who created that, most likely who created that endpoint. But what I want to do is this numerical ID of the endpoint. And this numerical ID doesn't change in time, not really. I mean, maybe once, I don't know, once a year it might change if, if there's a new setup. But essentially, this is a semi-permanent numerical ID that corresponds to the Fur cluster. So I can actually set up an environment variable that I'm going to call Fur and set it to this numerical ID. And then I can even put it into my .bashic file if I don't want to redefine this variable every time. So now, if I want to list my files in my home directory on Fur, all I need to do is just type globus ls Fur. So I'm not 100% sure whether it will ask me to authenticate. So let's see what happens. Okay, so in this case, it didn't because I did authentication, I don't know, this morning or yesterday, and apparently that's still valid. So here's my home directory on Fur cluster. If I want to list a, let's say, project or scratch directory, then I will say column, and then here we have a symbolic link scratch in every home directory on Fur pointing to the scratch file system. So here are my files in the scratch directory, and currently I have just a single subdirectory there. All right, great. So what will happen if you don't have authentication? So in this case, Globus will actually, when you run Globus ls, it will actually tell you that you don't have access. And then it will prompt you, it will actually, right here in the error message, it will tell you you don't have access. And then it will tell you, please run this command. And then when you run this command, it will open a web page. So in this case, because running this locally, it will open a web page in your browser. And then you will have to follow with authentication. So you're giving Globus authentication to permission to access your file system on, well, your directory, your account on Fur cluster. So let's try to transfer some files. So here I'm going to say Globus transfer from the tutorial collection T1. I'm going to transfer the same file, here's where to find it, into the scratch directory on Fur. So notice that currently I'm transferring files between two different remote collections, right? So even though I'm running these commands on my own computer, I'm transferring between a remote tutorial endpoint and then remote, my account on Fur, the scratch file system. And so intentionally, I put an error here in this command. So this command is not correct. What's wrong here is because, as you might remember, a few minutes ago, I mentioned that you have to specify for a single file transfer, you have to specify a file name on the destination as well. So this command will actually fail. So how can I check that? I mean, right now, I don't know that it's failing, right? So I just submitted the command. It gave me the task ID. So things look good so far. But what I can do is I can list the command with Globus task show to show me the details on, and then I paste the ID of the transfer command, and it will give me this. And there are lots of fields here. So in practice, what I like doing is to monitor transfer, I want to grab for a couple of lines. So one is a line showing the status, and the other one is forts. And then you will get a kind of a bird's eye view on the state of your transfer. And as you can see, it says active. So what it means that it doesn't mean that it succeeded. It's just currently it's it should be running, but then it shows the faults, right? So here under faults, it shows that there are 2 errors. So there is an error. And actually what will happen in this specific case, Globus will keep trying for 1 hour. And then after 1 hour, it will just say, well, sorry, I give up. I cannot do this. So there's a problem with my command. And to see the problem, all I need to do is just type this Globus task event list command. So I'm going to put it here, event list -- filter errors, and then provide the transfer task ID. And we'll tell you exactly why the command fails. So again, my terminal is kind of an error right now, but you can see the error message at the very end. So it says a system error open. It's a directory, right? It's a directory. So basically what it means is that when we submit a transfer, we forgot to specify the file name at the very end. So in this case, what I need to do is I'm going to cancel my transfer. So Globus task cancel, and then wait for it to finish. So now I cancel it. And now I'm going to resubmit it, specifying the file name at the very end. So this is the command I'm going to paste. So exactly the same command, except that I added / and then the name of the file on the in the destination path. And this command should work just fine. So now let me see Globus task. I'm going to say show, paste the task ID, and then I'm going to paste these. Sorry, my terminal is, my screen is very small, so that's why I have to balance 2 very small screens because I want to show them at the same, windows. I want to show them at the same time. But here you can see the command succeeded. There were no errors, right? And succeeded means that, well, it ran successfully. So I can actually run now Globus ls, and then on fur, I want to see files in my home directory. So now I should see f1.txt. And here we go. So here I have f1.txt right here, right? So the transfer finished successfully. So let me try to transfer 2 files between one single file between 2 different clusters, 2 different alliance clusters. So now I'm going to search for NIBI. So I already have an environment variable set to fur, and then I'm going to set a similar environment variable to NIBI, right? So all I need to do is just say export NIBI equal to, and here's the endpoint on NIBI. Yeah, it's still called grain Globus, but I mean, grain was replaced by NIBI, so now it's pointing to the NIBI's file system. So here we go. And then I'm going to transfer a large file from fur. So I'm just going to paste this command, a large file from fur in some way in my project directory, and is just, this file is 8.1 gigabytes. So now I'm actually getting the benefit of running this through grid FTP, so it should run pretty fast. And then I also specify the destination. So in the destination, the directory, right? So I'm going to put it into Scratch directory on NIBI, into my own Scratch, and then this is the file name at the destination site, right? So let's do this. All right, so let's monitor. Actually, one thing we can do, we can also monitor the file size on the destination. So I suspect this command should work just fine. And I do just ls -l on the Scratch directory, then grep for the file name, and then that will give me the file size. So as you can see, the file is being copied. And so as of now, actually copied 100, let's see, it's 193 megabytes. So it will take, I don't know, it will take a minute or something like this, maybe a couple of minutes to transfer, right? So if I want to monitor the process, I'm simply going to run this command. Actually, let me do it like this. And then I need to paste in the numerical ID of the task. And then what I'm looking for is making sure that I don't have any errors, and it says faults 0. So it's running just fine. Okay, so how do I transfer multiple files? So unfortunately, Globus command line interface does not support Unix wild masks. So in the sense that whenever you schedule transfer, let's say I'm running Globus transfer, and I want to copy a whole bunch of files, let's say into this directory on NIBI, and then a whole bunch of files, let's say something like this, or maybe you put this into the quotations, right? So on with secure copy, for example, or I think something like this will work. Unfortunately, these syntax does not work with Globus. So in this case, there are several solutions. I mean, of course, one thing is because Globus was really designed for very large file transfer. You probably, I mean, in real life, you probably want to pack these multiple files into an archive and then issue a single command to transfer this large archive with Globus transfer. Another thing you can do is you can copy a directory and then add a -- include file. So for example, in this case, in this example, what I'm doing is I'm transferring everything from this directory on fir into my Scratch directory on Nibi, right? And then, so here, notice that I don't have file names in the source or destination because I'm just transferring everything from a directory, right? And then I'm including everything with the .sh extension, right? So include, and then here I'm using the Unix world mask. And then also I found that you have to include the -- exclude flag as well, because otherwise Globus in practice, it will copy all these .sh files and some other things as well. So if you really want to include just .sh files and nothing else, this is the syntax you have to use. So you exclude everything, and then you include .sh files, and then it should work. So now if I say show and then paste the numerical ID of my transfer, it should tell me whether it's running successfully. So yep, so it runs successfully. So in this case, let me quickly do Globus ls on Nibi in my Scratch folder, and there I should see just the .sh file. So right here, right, plus the large netcdf file that I transferred a few minutes ago. So another way to transfer multiple files is to use the -- batch flag. So in this case, what you do is you create a text file. So in this case, I would create a text file right on my computer, right? So let's say I open Nano, and then I create a new file called include.txt. And then into this file, I copy multiple lines. Actually, oh, here we go. It already exists. So into this file, I copy multiple lines. And then here, things that I commented, I just comments, right? So this is just a comment. And then here I have three lines. So that means I'm going to transfer 3 files as a batch transfer. And then in each line, I have 2 paths. So that's the path to the file I'm transferring on the source. That's the path to the same file I'm transferring on the destination, right? So here I'm transferring 3 files. And notice that here on the destination, for example, test.sh will just go into my destination directory, whereas these 2 files are going to go into subdirectories A and B. So in this case, if these subdirectories A and B are not present there, then Globus Transfer will actually automatically create these directories. So this is really, really useful if you want to transfer hundreds of thousands of files. The batch flag is really a preferred way to do this. So with this file saved, let's actually, so here's my include file, and all I need to do is transferring files from fir to Nibi Scratch, and then it will also create these directories. So right here, where the directories A and B subdirectories on Scratch as well. So now if I do ls on Nibis Scratch, it should show, yeah, so now the directories A and B were created and my transfer ran successfully. So now let's talk about transferring files to or from your own computer. So in this case, what you need to do is, so far, all Globus transfer operations that I run, so I ran Globus transfer many times. In all cases, I was transferring between 2 different remote computers. So how do you transfer files to or from your own computer? In this case, you have to install an application called Globus Connect Personal. And essentially just follow the link. You can Google it as well. Just follow the link and we'll actually ask you to authenticate, right? So in this case, I'm already authenticated my browser, and then here it says download. It automatically detected that I'm on a Mac and prompts me to download it for Mac. So basically, you download and install this Globus Connect application on your own computer, and then it will the first time you run it, it will ask you to log in. So again, you will follow in the browser, log in with your, I don't know, probably the Alliance account. And then the next thing you need to do is you will create a unique name for your endpoint. So your endpoint is going to be your own, files, typically home directory on your own computer. And I call it Alex for this test. I call it Alex SFU, but of course you can call it whatever you want. And then, so let me actually run, I don't think I'm running right now. So I'm going to start Globus Connect Personal on my own computer. And then already went through the setup. So let's see, where is it? It doesn't show in my toolbar. It shows, unfortunately, in the other toolbar on the other terminal. So I'm going to go into preferences. And so here I'm just going to show you this is what preferences look like. So there are some important things. So in access, you want to give access, whether it's just shareable, just read or write access. And so here I'm giving access to my home directory. I mean, optionally, you can give just access to a subdirectory if you want. In this case, I'm the only person who's going to transfer files using these, well, who's authenticated to use this endpoint. So I just give write access to myself. And then another thing that you want to do, I guess, in info, you go to endpoint. And so this numerical ID is important. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to create a variable called, export. I'm going to create a variable called laptop, and I'm going to just assign this numerical ID to this variable. So now you can transfer files from a remote machine to your own computer and vice versa from your own computer to this machine. So for example, if I do Globus ls laptop, let's see what do I have in the TMP folder, in this case on my laptop as seen to the Globus system. So I have a couple of subdirectories there. Great. So let me transfer some files from, so let's say I want to transfer a file, a data simulation file from FIR, from this directory on FIR, right? So in my home folder, there's data, and then there's deep impact subdirectory. So if I do ls -l, it will give me a collection of several hundred files. So it will just give me a very long output. Let's say I want to transfer just a single file. So I'm going to grab for a single file. And this file, it's actually 590 megabytes. So in order to initiate this transfer, all I need to do is just run this command, except that here again, on purpose, I have an error here. So I probably, because I'll show you how a command will not succeed and what you will need to do in this case. So now I just want to show the successful command. So I'm just going to name this file in the destination as, let's say, this guy, right? So the names don't have to match each other, not really. And so here I started transfer, and now if I do just local ls command, right, so it should actually show something. Well, the transfer hasn't started yet. Oh, here now it started. So here, as you can see, the transfer started, and I probably want to cancel it because now it's competing with my Zoom stream. But the point is that now I'm transferring a file from FIR to my own computer, and it ran successfully, yeah. So one thing that you might have noticed at this point is that there's a lot of output in Globus, and if you want to automate that, you have quite a lot of options. So one thing that is important is if you want to monitor progress, or if there are some errors, you want to find out what the errors were, you need to use the task ID, right? The numerical task ID. And how do you capture it? I mean, obviously, one thing you can do is you can just copy and paste, but that's not very convenient, especially if you try to script your workflow in let's say in a Bash script. So one thing you can do is you can set it into an environment variable, right? So if you're doing this inside a script, this is one thing you can do. So let's say I define the two collections, and then I start transfer, right? So here I start transfer inside these command in parentheses. So this is the standard Bash way of getting output from one command and then assigning it to a variable. So in this case, task ID variable is just going to be the numerical task ID. So echo task ID is, lowercase task ID is going to store the numerical ID of my transfer. So now if I want to show, monitor it, let's say check for errors, it actually succeeded, right? So there are no errors, but that's one way to do this. So use command line comprehension at scheduling time. Another way to do this would be to automate this would be to use labels. So labels don't have to be unique. But you probably want them to be unique in most cases. So let's say you can have a label on a copy and Globus tutorial file, or maybe you want to have a very unique label. So in this case, I'm just assigning some random numbers to this, right? So the label is actually going to be in this case, very, very unique. And then when you schedule transfer, so Globus transfer, source destination, you also supply the labels. So in this case, dash label, and then I'm going to provide the value of this environment variable label that I just created, right? So here I start transfer, and then I don't capture the task ID, right? So I mean, it gave me the task ID, but let's say I missed that in the terminal output. So I can still capture it by searching through all my transfers with a given label, right? So I'm running this. I'm filtering by a label. Actually, it's quite a long command. So let me do this. So let me just run this command without assigning to a variable, right? So I'm essentially searching for all my active transfers using a given label. And here it gives me, so, with some post-processing, gives me the ID of that transfer. So now I can actually go and paste that into a variable, right? Or I can actually do that in a single command. So I can just run this entire command, save this into a variable, and then I'm going to say Globus show, Globus task show, right? Yeah, Globus task show, and then task ID, and here we go. Oh, yeah, here we go. So in practice, I still find this is quite complicated because there's quite a lot of typing involved. So what I like to do personally is I like to automate workflows, Globus workflows with bash functions. So I created a number of functions, and I'm going to show you how much they simplify, all this typing of Globus commands. So I created the main function is Globus copy, and the reason I created this complex function, actually let me enable this function, and I'm going to paste the definition in my current shell. Yep. So now the function is enabled. And as you can see here, as part of the function, I have all these numerical IDs for the endpoint. So I have, for example, so for you, if you try this on your end, these guys, Nibit, Trillium, and Rockwell will work. And here I have an endpoint for my own laptop that will not work because I don't have access to, well, for Globus to my laptop. But essentially what this function does, it does three things. So first of all, it provides a secure copy-like syntax. Instead of using environment variables, I can simply say FIR, or whatever. The second thing is that it stores endpoint IDs, right? So you don't have to remember them. So all these guys are already defined in the function. And very importantly, it checks if the source and destination extensions are the same. So the idea, if you use this command on a single file, then you forget to specify the file in the destination path, it will actually tell you that there is an error. So let me show. Actually, here I also have a couple of other functions that are showing the process and will block. Will wait for the command to finish, show the error, and then cancel the transfer. So let's see how this works in practice. So let's say I want to transfer some files from FIR to NIBI, right? So in this case, actually, is a syntax which that's why I call it GCP. So very similar to SCP, secure copy. So essentially the same syntax, right? So GCP, I'm going to transfer from FIR a file from this directory, and then that's the file name, and I'm transferring it to NIBI's Scratch and into this file name. But let's say I forgot the file, specify the file name, I just specify the directory in the destination. So in this case, what will happen, you will notice that, okay, you specify a file with the extension .nc, netcdf file in the source, but you don't specify any file with the same extension in the destination. It will tell me, well, there's extension mismatch. You have nc and nothing, right? So exiting. So what you want to do is you probably want to give it an extension. Let's say I'm going to call it 20.nc. Actually, let's say netcdf. And because I have a mismatch between NC and netcdf, it still gives me an error, right? So I need to supply the same extension. And so now it actually schedules successfully. So now if I want to see the progress, I can say gshow and give it the numerical ID, right? And then it will show me that it's active and there are no errors, right? So now gshow command also works, so it's defined right here in this function. If you don't specify any any task ID, then it will actually show all currently active task IDs, right? It will say no argument specified, that's how you use it. Therefore, I'm showing all active tasks. And here's an active task, which I just scheduled. So it's actually the same guy as this one, right? But let's just wait for the transfer to finish. So gshow, and I'm just waiting for, oh, it's still active. I guess I'm transferring 8 GB file, so it's quite large. But if there was an error, then you can use gerror command, right? Gerror followed by the numerical task ID, and we'll just tell you exactly why a transfer didn't work. So let's actually try this something, I don't know, let's try Scratch 20.nc, teamp, I don't know, this directory doesn't exist. I'm not 100% sure what will happen, whether it will give me an error message or it will succeed and we'll just create the directory, but let's just test this. So gshow on this numerical ID. Actually, it doesn't show a fault, so I guess in this case, we'll create a subdirectory teamp inside my Scratch folder, and then it will just copy the file. And then if you want to cancel a transfer, this is what you do, right? So just run gcancel, which will underneath run this command. So in Globus, you can also sync directories, and this is very easy to do. Unfortunately, I have only 10 minutes left, and there's still a couple of very important things that I want to cover. So essentially, when you sync two directories, you see Globus transfer, so same transfer command, and then you have dash dash sync level command. So you can sync in several different ways. So you can sync only checking for whether the file exists in the destination, or if the file exists, you can also specify, force syncing if the size is different, if the modification time is different, or if the checksums are different, right? So these are all separate modes or separate flags that you supply to dash dash sync level flag. And obviously there's a recursive command that will just sync recursively, including all files and subdirectories. So here's an incomplete example. So in this case, I have a collection on fur. I have a, what I'm doing, I have something in this directory on fur, right? So, and then I have my laptop. So in this case, I'm actually gonna sync two directories. So I'm gonna sync, a directory from fur, right? So let me just define, make sure these are defined, and then I already have the local TMP. Yeah, I have a local TMP directory, so there's no need to create this guy. And then I will issue the sync command, and then it should work. So now if I monitor TMP, it will very shortly, it will create the subdirectory into which it is going to sync everything from the source directory. So let's see. Yep. So here we go. So now there is test EGL, and now it's going to sync. It might take, I don't know, a few seconds, few more minutes, but it's gonna run successfully. So running Globus-cli on the cluster. So far in all my demos, I just run Globus on my own computer. But of course, you can also log into the cluster. Let's say I'm going to log into FIR. And then on FIR, so I need to authenticate myself with MFA. So here I just logged into FIR. And then FIR I already created the environment. So all I need to do is just source this environment. So being activate, and now I have access to the Globus command. Let's just check the version very quickly. Let's see, I can't remember if I updated it on FIR or not. So let's see, it's checking the local version and also the most up-to-date version. Not sure why it's taking so long. Okay, so now, yeah, I have the up-to-date version. Let me run Globus, actually Globus who am I? Let's see if I'm currently logged into Globus on the cluster on FIR. Yep, great. Okay, I'm logged in, so I don't need to run Globus login. And let me transfer files. Let's say I'm going to transfer a file from FIR to NIBI. But now I'm initiating this transfer from FIR. So I define the FIR and NIBI endpoints as variables. And then let me check my file system. Of course, this is going to return exactly the same thing as just running ls locally. But here, as you can see, now it actually noticed that I haven't run these Globus, I haven't accessed the Globus file system through Globus from FIR recently. So it actually asks me to give consent, to give permission for Globus to access my file system on FIR. So how this happens is that you'll need to run this command. I'm running this command on FIR, just copy and paste. And then it will give me the URL, right? So the URL I'm going to open in a local browser, and then I'm going to follow and give permissions. And then it will give me, so I'm going to say allow, yes, allow access to FIR. I'm going to copy this code and copy it back into the terminal, right? So now I'm authenticated. So now I can close this web browser, and then I'm authenticated. So now I can actually run Globus ls FIR endpoint on FIR, and it should give me, of course, the same files essentially that I have, just by that I see just by running the ls command. And now I can transfer files. So I'm going to run this command to transfer files from FIR, a very large 8 GB file from this path to NIBI's Scratch directory. So let me actually transfer to, I don't know, I'm going to call a directory, let's say A1, just to make sure it goes into a separate directory. And then, then I initiate transfer. So the only difference now is that compared to my previous demos is that instead of running this command on my laptop, I run this command on FIR. So here I start transfer. I can't remember I have the gshow. Oh, actually, interesting. I also need to authenticate myself to NIBI now, right? Because I'm running this command from FIR, but I have not provided the authentication to Globus from FIR to access NIBI so recently. So I again, need to do this authentication. And this authentication will store for a while, I don't know, several hours, several days. I'm not sure exactly how long. So basically, I need to run this command. And then it will give me the URL that I open in a local browser, give access to the file system on NIBI to this Globus session running on Fur. And then I'm going to paste this code. And then I'm going to rerun the command, the transfer command. And as you can see, it works. So I can't remember I have the gshow. Yeah, I don't have gshow defined here. So now I need to say Globus task show, and then give it the numerical ID, and then it should work. So under forts, where is here? Okay, yeah, so it's active. It doesn't show any errors. So it actually started transfer, and it looks like the transfer is successful. The very last topic I want to cover, I have only a few minutes left, is Globus sharing. So in Globus sharing, the idea is that you can basically share a directory for either read or read and write access, and give access either to a specific Globus user, a group of Globus users. In that case, you will have to define a group, or anybody with a Globus login, or anybody without a Globus login, right? So there are quite a few options. But let me just show a very fast demo. So one thing, if you want to if you want to share with a specific Globus user, what you want to do is let me actually log in from the cluster. So I'm back on my laptop. And then what I need to do is I need to have I want to share with a specific user. So I want to get the numerical ID, user ID, Globus user ID of that user. And for that purpose, I'm actually going to, so how they can find the Globus ID? Well, one thing you can check is you can actually run a command similar to this one, just using the email address. It's not guaranteed that the Globus ID, Globus username is going to be the same as the email, right? So in this case, this is actually my very old email from Compute Canada days. It's not active anymore, but it still is associated with my Globus ID. In that case, it returned the numerical ID. So I need the numerical ID to give permission for the person to access my system. So, or you can ask them to find the numerical ID. There are quite a few ways to do that. So either via the web interface or via the command line. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to share with a different user. So let's see if this actually works. I'm not 100% sure this will work because I had some issues in the past few days. But yeah, okay, it works. So I actually have another Globus account, which is completely unrelated to my Alliance Globus account. And it has this numerical ID, right? So back in 2014, I actually created a Globus account, and it's still valid. And what I need to do is I'm going to set a variable called calibrator, so environment variable, to which I'm going to pass this numerical ID. And then, of course, I want to define fair as well, if I have not defined it. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a guest collection, a Globus guest collection inside my home directory. So I'm creating, so remember that a home directory is a mapped collection, and then inside a mapped collection is created by an admin, a sysadmin. So you cannot create a mapped collection, but you can create a guest collection, and you can do it entirely yourself. You don't have to have admin privileges. So this is how you would do this. So I'm going to say Globus collection create, and notice that I'm running this command on my own laptop, right? So it doesn't really matter that I'm creating a guest collection on Fur. I can still run this command anywhere where I'm authenticated to use Globus. So Globus collection create guest on Fur in my home. So I already created a subdirectory called share, and then I'm going to create a collection called project 004. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, yep, it worked, except, oh no, it didn't work. I need to, again, I need consent, right? So in this case, I'm doing something slightly more complex. I'm creating guest connection, and it again wants authentication. So let me give it access, permission to create guest collections. So done. And then I'm going to run this command again. So creating a guest collection called project 004. And it should give me a numerical ID of actually it will give me a lot of output, including the numerical ID of this collection. And let's just wait. Not sure why it's taking so long. So here we go. And then I'm going to create a directory called collection. So I'm going to say collection, is equal to, and then I'm searching for this line for numerical ID of the collection. So the collection was created, and then I'm going to give a permission for my collaborator. So in this case, it's myself, but just with a different Globus account, right? So remember that I created, actually, let's see, no, not this one, it's this line. I'm going to give permission to the collaborator. So remember that a minute ago, I created this variable, and then I also created this collection and assigned the variable to collection just now, right? So here in this line, what I'm doing is I'm giving permission, read and write permissions. So permissions, read and write. I'm giving read and write permissions to this collaborator to access my collection, of which is actually called project 004, and it is sitting in this subdirectory in my home directory on fir. So I'm giving permission to my collaborator. So access rule ID created successfully. One thing I want to stress is that in these cases, you want to save this number. And I can probably just say rule is equal to this guy, because later on, when you remove that collection, you make sure that before you remove the collection, you have to remove the permission. Otherwise, the permission will get orphaned and it will still sit somewhere on, in the Globus universe. And I don't know any way to delete a permission for a collection that you have already deleted, right? So basically, when you terminate access, remove access to this collection to the collaborator, make sure that first you remove permission and then you remove the collection, right? But anyway, so here we have access, and let me see if I can actually show this very quickly. So at this point, your collaborator should be able to see the files inside your collection, right? So how do I authenticate? So maybe I will start a different browser. So I'm going to start Safari, and then I'm going to log in. Oh, sorry. I'm almost done. So, but I want to share this demo, but I want to go through a different browser. So I'm going to go into Globus.org. So this browser does not store my login. So let's see if I can quickly demo this. So I'm going to log in through Globus ID, continue, username and password. And of course, I need to look this up. So just give me a second, please. So here I'm going to log in a different browser with my old Globus ID, and I will need to paste the password as well. Sign in request. So here I'm using an account that I created back in 2014 and has nothing to do with my current collections, with my Alliance Globus account. And then what I want to do is I want to search for a project 004. So I don't know if it will be successful because I just created, oh, here we go. Yeah, so here is a collection on Cedo, means Fir, right, on Fir Globus. So here's a collection. And then here I'm logged in as not as myself, I'm logged in as myself through my very old Globus ID, right? As you can see, you can actually access the two files that are part of the collection that I just created a minute ago. And because I gave myself read and write access, right? So if I show you the commands, I gave myself, let's see where I added permission. Right here, I gave myself read and write access. So through this interface, in this case, I'm using web interface for this demo, but I can actually read files and I can write files as well, because these are the permissions I have. So very last thing that I want to mention is that, so it works. And then when you remove permissions, you can certainly modify permissions if you want. I found that the easiest way to modify permission is actually to remove permissions and then create a new set of a new permission with different level access. Let's say read only, or I don't know, instead of read write access. And then when you delete these collections, make sure that you delete all permissions before deleting the rule, as I mentioned. Otherwise, your rules will get orphaned, and I personally don't know how to delete them. Anyway, so one thing that I did not cover, actually, I was not planning to cover it because it's quite a big topic, is Globus flows. And so here the idea is that you can actually include some computations into your Globus commands. You can do this from the command line, but this is a separate topic, and so the point here is that Globus is actually much more than just file transfer. You can schedule, remote operations and classes, etc., through Globus as well. So I think maybe sometime in the future we'll cover this topic as well. But otherwise, since we're out of time, I'm just going to show you the links. So a good starting point is this website. So for Globus CLI command line interface quick start. If you have any questions about Globus policies or permissions or how long they keep authentications, etc. So I found that the FAQ, frequently asked questions, is really, really good. So for example, in security, and there's a lot of explanation here. So it tells you exactly how long they keep things. But I think otherwise I will just stop here.